Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Good Stuff. I'm Kevin Bille, and as always, we appreciate you joining us today. Well, I didn't do this on purpose, but we have another Kevin, and so I'm not biased. But today we are joined by Kevin Sutton, assistant men's basketball coach at Rhode Island. Kevin, it's great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin. And I am biased because I think everybody with the name Kevin is pretty great.
There you go. Well, we've had a couple already. So Kevin Eastman, Kevin Kelly, and I think maybe you're the third one. I could be off there, but Coach, I want to jump in right away by talking about your faith. And just getting to know you. It's definitely the foundation of who you are to the core, and it drives any and everything that you do. So just walk us through that, if you would, please, a little bit to start.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for this opportunity. My faith is, the most important thing to me. I grew up with a praying grandmother who wore the big hat in church, and she was a matriarch in our church. And then my aunt was the choir director. So myself and all of my siblings, we all sang in the choir. So we had choir rehearsal practice every Thursday. We went to church every Sunday. The church was such a central focus of our community. It was so important to all of us. And then by the age of 13, we had to go to church all the way up to that age. And then at age 13, we were given the option not to go, or we could choose when we could go and when we wanted to go. And so I went. And then at age 13, I stopped going to church and on a regular basis and started going to, Christmas and Easter and all those different types of services. So I kind of lost my way. And then I went on to college, and then at Madison University, started going back to church, and reconnecting. And I know that my grandmother was praying for me all along. And then after graduating from college in February of 1991, went to Ebenezer AME Church and was going there. And then I rededicated my life to Christ, and really thankful and blessed that ever since, it's like you said, it's been the foundation of who I am as a person and who I am as a coach and in my professional life. And I'm just really honored to be able to serve in the Lord's, on His team, in any way, shape, or form that I possibly can, because it's that important to me.
Yeah, that's great. I applaud you for that. And man, if I'd have known you sang in the choir, we could have opened up with a song or something here. But how do you go ahead? I'm sorry.
No, I was the background. Trust me.
So how do you use that in your role? Especially, I guess I'd be more concerned with when someone maybe isn't aligned with you, or just in general with that.
You know what? I try to live it. I try to live out my faith, and live it in my life and in my actions, and make sure my words and my actions line up. Do I falter sometimes? Absolutely. But we serve a forgiving God. But I try to live it out. And then I try to meet people where they are on their faith walk. I've had the opportunity throughout my coaching experience to meet people who were just beginning to understand what it means to be a Christian and have faith, and be able to, stand up on and preach about their faith, not necessarily preach so much, but talk about their faith,
Right.
And then I've also met people further along on their faith walk where they were fired up for the Lord. And then, so I just try to do that. And I just try to be a vehicle, to those people. I'll give you a quick story. Cameron Dollar, who was an assistant coach in Washington, when he played for me in high school, we used to go to church to Ebenezer every Sunday, and the church was an hour away from where we lived.
Oh, wow.
And so one Sunday we got back from one Saturday night we got back late from the game, and he was like, "Coach, we're going to go to church tomorrow morning." And the service started at 8, and I was like, "Cam, I'm not sure. I'm not sure." And then I said, "Well, I'll call you in the morning." So I called him in the morning around 6 at our usual time, and I said, "If you really want to go, I'll go." Well, we went, and on that day was when he gave his life to Christ, and he's been a soldier in God's army ever since. And so, that's what I try to do. And then I just try to just be an example, a beacon of light for people who are can see in me what Christ has done for me, and maybe they can, want to learn more about Christ. And so I just try to help them along. I'll share scripture. When we play music, I'll play, gospel music. And if they get in my car, they know they're going to listen to gospel music. And then just try to meet people where they are.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, good stuff for sure. Hey, one thing that's noticeable, I think, to me right away, is your ability to attract talent. And of course, being a former coach, I'm always intrigued about this. And I think whether it's excuse me, sports or business, I think a lot of people would love to hear your advice on this, right? It's recruiting, it's bringing people in, however you want to look at it. So I would say this is probably more of a two-part question of what comes to mind. But do you feel like this is something, whether you're a coach like yourself or a CEO or in charge of this, HR, whatever it might be, like, are you born with this, or do you have to learn it? Is it a combination of? I don't want to, dive in or mix it with the leadership thing. I think it's different, but there's definitely, you either have it or you don't to a certain extent.
I agree with you. I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
I think, for me, I have been born with that ability to evaluate talent quickly and assess it. I view myself as a person who attracts talent, and also a connector. I can put people together. Like-minded people or people that have a need, and it's because I'm self-aware. I know who I am and what I like and what I don't like. I often say to people that I stopped giving into peer pressure when I was 10, and started to, formulate who I was. And so the second part, it is learned, because you have to do that deep dive into who you are, what's your negotiables, what's your non-negotiables. And then you start to attract and align yourself with those people that bring out the best in you and you bring out the best in them. So it's learned, and I'm a good listener. I take pride in being a good listener. I say all the time that listening is a talent, much like, shooting the basketball or dribbling the basketball or passing the basketball or being, really, really bright. All those things are talents. Well, listening is a talent as well, because we listen with our ears, but we learn with our eyes. So I try to listen to people and hear their story and hear their passion, and hear what their negotiables are and what their non-negotiables are. And then and like you said, it goes into recruiting. For me, my recruiting model has always been, I'm going to sacrifice talent for getting people who are of higher character, because I want people who are low maintenance to no maintenance. I don't really work well with high maintenance people. And so I want people who are low maintenance to no maintenance, because I want people who have character, and instead of people who are characters. And then secondly, I want people who are committed to a growth mindset, and committed to getting a quality education. They don't have to be rocket scientists, but they got to be dedicated. They got to be committed, to being educated, self-directed learners, those type of people. And then finally, I want people who are passionate, about their talent, whatever that talent may be. So if I'm a basketball coach, I want people who are talented and who are passionate about the game of basketball, because I am, and it means a great deal to me. And so when I try to, look at that, and then I try to, when I do my evaluations, I want to determine if a person is a right fit. Will they be a right fit for whatever university that I'm working for? Can they be here?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry.
No, can they be here, and can they function in our community?
Mm-hmm.
Two, what do they need to do to stay here?
Right.
If once we bring them here, what do we need to do to make sure they stay here and they can be successful and they can thrive in our community? And then finally, what can they do to play here? What do they have to do to play here?
Yeah, you hit on so much there, Kevin. Like that's really good, because and the second part I was going to go to was, how does one decide on what's best for that team or organization? Because when it comes to what they want and what they're allowing in, I was very similar to you when I coached. The character outweighed everything. I hear some guys, and I've had some buddies that they can put up with everything 5 days a week, because the other 2 nights a week they're putting up 25 for them, and it's just, that's really tough for me, because I felt like, and maybe this is just as we're just talking out loud here now, maybe this is something for even that business person to pay attention to, because I remember taking a talented kid that wasn't a fit. And at the end of the year, I had to let him go, and it wasn't his fault necessarily. It was more my fault that I allowed him to come into a culture that he just wasn't going to fit in. And I tried to force that, and it bothered me so much. And maybe you'd agree or disagree with this, but I felt like when I came into the gym every day, and I guess afterwards I realized this, everybody noticed that one guy bothered me where I didn't notice it at all. You know what I mean? But it impacted everything else. So you've probably been a part of that or missed or hit on that, or can just maybe talk about some of that when it comes to the non-negotiables, if I'm making sense here.
You're making a tremendous amount of sense, because I too had that same experience when I was at Montverde. It was on a beautiful campus set on 125 acres in Central Florida, where every day is a sunny day. And I brought a young man into that community, and his mindset, he was coming from a city. So his mindset was, a city's mindset, meaning that if I said, meet me down the road a mile, he would look down and, we would look down the street and be like, no, that's too far. But if I said, if we were in a city and I said, meet me on 24th Street and he was on 54th Street, he'd be like, oh, okay, coach, I'll meet you down there, even though it's still a mile. But when you have a city's mentality, everything is in block forms, but so I had to take that young man, out to the middle of campus to the bell tower. And I told him to look around. And I said, all of this is ours, but you've been here for 2 months, and you've alienated yourself in so many different ways because you have a closed mindset, and you're not trusting the people here, and you've had run-ins with the dormitory parent, you had run-ins in the cafeteria, you had run-ins with the librarian, you have different run-ins with people here that really care about you, but you're not of that mindset to understand that. And so with that being said, I said, you're eventually going to bite the hand that feeds you, and that hand's going to be mine. And they're going to ask me, one of you are going to have to go. And I told him, I said, the last time I checked, they pay me, so I'm going to stay here. So you're either going to have to make the adjustment. And he wasn't able to, because at that time, the way he dealt with issues was, because he had a speech impediment, was he couldn't fight with his words. He had to physically fight, and so I ended up taking him to the airport. We cried the whole way, and I felt like I had let him down, because I really felt that bringing him into that community, that I could surround him with good people. He had a host family, had great teammates, and I could change his life. But at that particular time, the school wasn't built for that type of student athlete. And so I had to let him go. But to speed the clock forward, the young man and I have remained very, very close. And now he's a head coach in the collegiate level.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Because when you're talking there, I know that I beat myself up. I took it personal. And I think it's really hard when you're coaching, you're leading an organization, team, however you want to say it, when you're trying to impact, influence in such a positive way and you can't get through to them, it's tough, right? But I really, for those that are listening, I just want to hit on that point that you made once again. Those non-negotiables are key. And if you're leading that organization, coaching that team, you can't make exceptions to that, because it will come back. It will come back to haunt you. You mentioned Montverde. I mean, I just want to walk through the resume here a little bit. From 1988 to 2011, 5 different teams that were nationally ranked, 2 national championships, 489 wins and 102 losses. It's unbelievably impressive. You would probably at times want to focus on those 102 losses, but specifically at your time at Montverde Academy, I mean, you coached 7 nationally ranked teams. You guys were 186 and 33. You turned out 55 Division I guys. Coach, I understand you have good players. I get all that, but give us the recipe to the success. I want the secret sauce here so everybody can implement it after they're done listening and put it into their business or team.
Well, first of all, I'm very fortunate and blessed, with that. But Kevin, one thing that when I started Montverde, and I went down there, when I say I started, they had a basketball program, but it was a seasonal, basketball program. So meaning that whenever the school was out of session, the basketball season was suspended. So being a boarding school, when Thanksgiving came, they suspended the season. When Christmas came, Christmas break, they suspended the season. So when I went down to Montverde, I say this all the time, that 10 of us went down there, 9 people turned it down, and I was the one who took it. And the reason why that I took it is because I saw all of the potential that it had, it had everything in place for me to go down there and build a program that I had always envisioned in my mind. I had, prior to that, I had already built two programs, Montrose Christian and then Bishop McNamara. So when I got down to Montverde, I saw the vision that I could build the program that, like I said, had always had in my heart and always had in my mind. And I actually was reading a book at the time called "If You Want to Walk on Water, You Got to Get Out of the Boat." So I was daring enough and bold enough to and filled with the spirit enough to go down there and build the program. And here are some of the things that were in place. They had a dormitory. It was an international boarding school. It was located in Central Florida, so you had an international airport. It sat on 125 acres, a beautiful campus, and the administration understood and was committed to using athletics as a vehicle to build a brand. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they came and sought after me. And so I had already had experiences with international players. I had already had experience with recruiting. I had already had experience with financial aid. I had already had experience with kids coming from foreign countries, but I always had to put them with host families, but now they had their own dormitories. So all those things were in place. The secret sauce is knowing who you are and building a program that you want to build. And so I did that. I went down there with my recruiting model, recruiting, student athletes that were international and domestic, that were of high character, committed to their academics, and they were passionate about the game of basketball. And I've always taken a holistic approach to development. I want to develop them as people. I want to develop them as students. I want to develop them as student athletes. And so when you say we had good players, we actually developed them. My coaching staff and I, during my time at Montverde, the 8 years that I spent down there, we developed that talent. Because again, I'm always going to sacrifice talent, right, because I want people of higher character and who are committed. And I had to have people who could function at a level of maturity that was higher than your average high school, because they were in almost a collegiate setting, because they were living in dormitories, and there was a great deal of responsibility that I had, and my coaching staff had, because we were taking kids from Cameroon, Africa, Ivory Coast of Africa, China, taking them from Lithuania, taking them from Germany, and so from around the world. And a lot of the parents, I never flew to those respective countries to recruit those. So, their parents really trusted me. And oftentimes the student athletes would come in and they weren't going home until after they graduated from high school. Oh, wow. So the secret sauce is surrounding yourself with an administration that's committed, knowing who you are and what type of program that you want to build, and then attract the talent. And I'm not just talking about the athletic talent, but I'm just talking about talented people that align with your vision and that will continue to challenge you. And then, once you have a level of success, and after you've defined what that level of success is, and then once you have a level of success, you have to continue to maintain that success by knowing that longevity, for me, was the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure. But I think what's really important there, because I did want to touch on that was kind of a job that nobody wanted. I think your vision was crucial. I think there was a plan and organization to it, and ultimately you executed it. So I hope people heard that throughout your message, and then the sustainability, it's just so key. I love talking to people about how to sustain success now. And if there's one group that's done that, it's USA Basketball, and you've had the opportunity to be a part of that. I'd love for you just to provide maybe any insight, with us on their elite standard, their culture and or leadership, any one of those.
Well, first and foremost, my USA Basketball experiences, I've had 3 of them, have all been the highlight of my coaching career. And when you talk about standards, they have, a very, very high standard, because they represent our country, and we have always been a powerful country and powerful in the Olympics, and especially in USA Basketball. But then we took a downturn. there
Yep.
for a while, and other countries start catching up with us. And and it's almost like we took it for granted, and then we, as a country, as USA Basketball, under the leadership of, Jerry Colangelo, Jim Tooley, Sean Ford, made a collective decision to, hire Coach K and turn everything around. And so in 2008, with the Redeem team, we did that. Coach K came in, and we were at the same time as our pro athletes were allowed to come in and play, and a lot of them did come in. Kobe especially, and set the standard. And so for me, being a part of the USA Basketball Youth Developmental Program right after 2008, that was a tremendous honor, because we were able to have access to everything that they did at that, to turn it around. I'm talking about inside meetings. We got films. We got Coach K coming in and talking to us. We had access to Kobe and all those guys, and it was just poured into our program, and we were prepared to be successful, and our sense of pride. And I've never served in the military and served our country, but that's the closest thing I've ever came to doing that, and it was such an honor. We had a great coaching staff. I mean, when I read off what our coaching staff was, Don Showalter, who's the all-time winningest coach in international play. We had a Herman Reed, who's a very successful coach, high school coach at Lake Clifton High School in Baltimore. Our project manager or team manager was BJ Johnson, who is assistant general manager for the Brooklyn Nets. Our video coordinator was, Kobe Altman, who's a general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then, I had myself, then we had me, and I think I was, pretty successful coach as well. But, we had that, and then we had great players. I'm actually looking at our first team that won the U17s, U16s, and all of those guys are either still in the league and having great careers, like Bradley Bille, who's one of the all-time leading scorers in Washington Wizards history, Andre Drummond, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and the list just goes on and on. But Adonis Thomas, all those guys that are on our U16 and U17 team have at least had a cup of tea, a cup of coffee in the NBA, or are dominant and playing in the NBA and are dominant still today.
I would be really interested. This is probably a sense of curiosity thing I always want to know personally, but you've just thrown out some names that I think a lot of us understand in the world of hoops, and in general, you've been around a lot of good coaches and programs. And what's really, going into having these interviews, Kevin, it's like I can ask the same question and get so many different answers. It's so intriguing to me, right? But like, to you, what is it that stands out with all these people? Like when you see the elite, what are the 2 or 3 intangibles or non-negotiables they have in their life, or habits, however you want to word it? What has risen to the top with you on a consistent basis from your perspective?
So 5 is my favorite number. So when I list things in groups of 5. So I'm gonna give you 5. First of all, their professionalism. They carry themselves in a professional manner, the way they dress, the way they act, the way they talk, and everything that they do. They're professional. Second, their emotional intelligence. Every decision that they make is driven from, an emotional intelligence standpoint. It's not a reactionary standpoint. It's not an emotional standpoint, but it's one in which they've given a lot of thought to what's in the best interest of everybody here. Not what's in the best interest of themselves, what's in the best interest of everyone here. Can we do this? Is it, going to make us be successful? Is it going to get us to our end game? Their growth mindset, openness to learning, openness to openness and to learning different things in different ways, or maybe the same thing in a different way. But their mindset is a growth mindset versus having a fixed mindset. Their leadership style comes from being self-aware. And I think that's really, really, really important, because when I have found, Kev, that, you have leaders and then you have guys who just coach. And I've always wanted to be a leader, and I wanted to be around people who wanted to lead their program, not just coach the particular team. And there's a huge difference. And oftentimes it's led by people's emotional intelligence. And then their attention to detail, their attention to detail, what's going to make us successful? What can we do to make this a great experience? How can we take these young men to that have never been out of the country, or some of them have, some of them have not, take them to Hamburg, Germany, and give them an experience that they can will at age 16 and 17 they will remember for the rest of their lives. And when they see each other, they will talk about this experience. It's not just take them over there and play the game of basketball. It's just take them, to different places and educate them in different ways to make the experience a really holistic experience.
That's great. Those all stand out to me in their own way. One thing I want to hit on there and just hit the pause button real quick is when you had mentioned that growth mindset. I mean, I'm amazed. One of the things that people would ask me of some of the people I've been around or coached, it's amazing how the best players are the most coachable, or the best employees are always wanting to learn. That's funny, or not funny, how it's just how it goes, right?
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I think one thing too that sticks out to me, Kevin, is just it's the daily discipline, right? It's the ability
Yeah.
to do it, especially on the days that you don't feel like it. Something I always preach to my three boys. It's easy to do it when you feel like it. I really want to go and transition into this living trophies. I talked to
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Getter. I talked to Brandon Chambers. These guys like, man, you got to ask Kevin about this. And then, of course, you've been including me, and we've gone on similar paths, if you will, in the last year with this living trophy. So I think people would love hearing about this because it's really, really good. And I think it once again speaks to the core of who you are.
Yeah. So living trophies, first and foremost, is when we as leaders take the opportunity to listen to the people that we serve, whether they be our students, whether they be our players, whether they be people that work with us or for us. And when we take that opportunity to listen to their dreams and their aspirations and their goals, and we become ladles, ladles that have the opportunity to pour into their buckets and fill it up, or we have the opportunity to be a ladle that can take the water out of their buckets. For me, I just wanted to always be a person to impact as many lives as I possibly could through this game of basketball, with the platform that I have as a leader, to create living trophies. And a living trophy, and how I coined this phrase, was we were 30-0 one year, Kevin, and we won a national championship. And a reporter asked me, said, "How can you describe this team?" And I said, the only phrase that I can use to describe this team is living trophies. And if you can just visualize with me, if you will, when we win a championship as coaches and we get a trophy, we put that trophy in a trophy case. And the trophy sits there for 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. And then 5 years later, we come back, or 10 years later, or 15 years, we come back and we take the trophy out of the case. And then we have the whole team there and we take a picture. Well, that trophy has collected 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years worth of dust by sitting in the case. But when you take that opportunity on a daily basis to pour into your student athletes and you impact their lives, they become your living trophies. And I have always said, that that's my job, that's my calling, and that's what the Lord has blessed me with the opportunity to do, because I want to build up people. And I want them to go out and become successful, and I want them to reach their dreams. But more importantly, I want them to have in their heart the understanding that Luke 12:48, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I want them always to know that they are my living trophies, and they are more important than an actual trophy that sits on in a trophy case. Because they're human beings, and they trusted me, and their parents entrusted me with their lives. And like I said, it's become my platform. Every Thursday night, we do a Zoom. It's called Living Trophies Master Zoom class, where we bring in, guest speakers to talk about, professionalism, leadership, topics that are, relevant, that can impact lives. We don't talk X and O's but we do talk about how to continue to grow professionally. And it's been a tremendous platform, and we're coming up on a year. But, Living Trophies is just simply being, a person who is, willing to serve others.
Yeah, that's good. I'd call that good stuff, Coach. Hey, you are you're a parent of four, and I simply put, I mean, a lot of people, have this as well in their lives. Like, how are you able to be a good parent while being a coach?
Great question. I mean, first and foremost, the best recruit that I ever had is my wife. Okay, so
I know
I'm really fortunate there. My wife Beth she's a tremendous mother. She holds it down. She allows me the opportunity to do both, be a parent and being a coach, as well. So and they do go hand in hand, and I try to, when I come home, I try to be as present as I possibly can in the present. Certainly try to be as aware of what's going on in their lives, and try to bring as much value that I can. Just yesterday, our youngest daughter Riley was playing tennis, so I went and pick her up from tennis and wanted to watch and be supportive, that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's maintaining work and home life balance is definitely something that you have to continue to work on.
Right.
So but I am blessed to have 4 kids.
Yeah, for sure. So has coaching made you a better parent, or has parenting made you a better coach?
Both.
Yeah.
Here's how. We have 4 kids that we can claim on our taxes, that we do claim on our taxes. But we've raised 12 other kids through being, guardians, while we were at, Montverde. So we have 16 kids in our family.
Wow.
So, during Christmas break and all the breaks that we had, Thanksgiving break, those student athletes would come to our house. So, it's made me a better parent because they had to see me as a parent. They got to see me as a parent, and it's also made me a better coach because they also saw me, as being a parent, that I wasn't, this person that they feared, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, as the coach. So they also saw me, as with another hat on. So both of them have helped me. My wife has helped me an awful lot because they once they saw me as a parent, they saw that there was 2 sides to me. They would see me as a coach, and then they would also see me as as a parent. And my children had to learn how to share their space, and my children had to learn how to share their time, and had to share their area, their rooms, and they had to learn how to share their parents.
Yeah.
So both of those go hand in hand for me. It's made me a better coach. It's made me a better player because I've gotten to know the kids in 2 different spaces and 2 different levels.
That's funny. Our oldest is 14, and he came to me. This is just a couple weeks ago. I don't know what he was watching on Sports Center, but the 2 NBA guys almost got into it, and I should remember who it is, but I'm forgetting. And he said, "Dad," they asked him, was he scared of the other guy? And he said, "I wasn't scared of him. I'm only scared of 2 people in my life, God and my dad." So I don't know if he was trying to tell me something there, but hey, one thing is I guess maybe a couple more things here, Kevin, and then we'll wrap up. But I'd be really interested, though. We talked about a little bit earlier, jokingly, I said something about those 102 losses. How, just in terms of life lessons, I'm always interested as well, in your time as a coach or just in general as a person, how has failure played a part of your life, and what have you done with that?
That's a great question. When I was younger, my high school coach, Stu Vetter, used to give us quotes all the time, and he gave us a quote one time that said that about failure and how you can use failure, and how I think it was Benjamin Franklin developing a light bulb, Thomas Edison, developing a light bulb. He failed thousands of times, but he got it right once. And so I remember that vividly, because, at that time I was like, how can failure help a person? But now as I, became more educated and grew and older and had more experiences at failing and having opportunities be unsuccessful for me, I've learned how to be able to use those things and go back and it starts with the self-evaluation. What could I have done better?
Mm-hmm.
Where was I unsuccessful? Could I have done anything better? And then when you answer those questions, then you move on to, more about the situation. Was it out of my control? Was it in my control? And then, okay, now moving forward, here's what I'm going to do, continue to grow, continue to learn from that experience. So it's about your mindset. If it's fixed on the act of where you were unsuccessful, then you're going to stay there, and then you'll get into where you start blaming other people for your being unsuccessful or your failure at that point. Or are you going to have a growth mindset and say, okay, this is where I was unsuccessful, and here's the reason or reasons why. This is what I could have done better. Okay. And so then I'm going to do these things better. So the next time, I will make the adjustment, and then I will be more successful at it.
Yeah, that's good. In terms of also learning, growing, like how do you do that? You're reading books, you listen to podcasts, you're talking to people, you have daily habits, you journaling, and what's part of your routine?
All of the above.
Okay.
It starts off with my morning prayer. I'm in a great chat group, and Eric Skeeter's one of my best friends. Always starts us off with Pastor Joel. So I'll read through that, and then I'll go into my Bible and go deeper into the verse or the scripture. Got to listen to my gospel music. Take my dog for a long walk and listening to my gospel music. And then I will listen to a podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts now, and I really enjoy them. And I take a lot of notes. I'm a read-write learner. So, I take a lot of cryptic notes, and then I will transcribe those notes, and it helps me understand and learn better. And then I read an awful lot, and I actually like to read and have the book in my hand more than having audible books, because I like to highlight, and do all that type of stuff. And like I said, again, take cryptic notes and then transcribe those notes, and then I'll have them put away in actual notebooks. But my wife is begging me to do some spring cleaning and get rid of a lot of notebooks. So that's what I've been doing, and trying to now digitize a lot of those things. So
right, yeah, for sure. Well, I'm the same way. There's something about having that highlighter or whatever it is. And you know what? Now we got another podcast for you to listen right here, Coach. There's
that's right.
50
Absolutely.
episodes to catch up on. But let's wrap it up here with what about favorite book or two that's really impacted you the most, other than the Bible, of course.
Well, we definitely got to start with the Bible. That is the most important book for me. Right. I read a lot. You know what? And so I'm just going to go and. Right now, just finished over Christmas, was I Came as a Shadow, Jesse Washington. I've known Jesse for 5 years, and, got to know him pretty well. How Full is Your Bucket by Tom Rath was a great book. Make the Big Time Where You Are by Frosty Western is another book that is a favorite of mine. Kevin Eastman's book, tremendous book. I love Chopping Wood, Carry Water.
Both those guys have been on here. That's the other Kevin DeShazer. Now we got 4. How about that? There you go.
And then I'm a huge John Gordon fan. So and Damon West, John Gordon's book Coffee Bean, all things John Gordon, all things Simon Sinek. So
yeah, for sure. Damon was on here as well. What a story that is. But yeah, those are. Yeah, those are really, really good. All right, well, hey, we're gonna wrap up here. Rapid fire. I call 3-pointers, so we'll let you shoot some corner threes here.
There we go.
But but you can obviously take your time. But number one, if people could learn, just if they could take away one thing from this that you just want them to hold on to, Kevin, what would that one thing be?
That one thing would be to Luke 12:48, to whom much is given, much is expected, and try to just serve as many people as you possibly can with the platform that you have. And then if you can continue to, be a giver of hope. And Kev, I use HOPE as an acronym for Help Other People Excel.
It's good. Good. Thank you. Number 2, if Kevin Sutton could have came over here today and been in Kevin Bille's shoes and asked a question, What question did I not ask of you that you would have asked today?
Why is longevity important to you?
It's good. Care to touch on it just quickly?
Yeah, you know what, Kevin, and here's the reason why. If longevity is not important to you as you pursue your level of success, then you're going to do whatever it takes to be successful. You're going to turn a square into a circle by cutting corners, and then when you get to your level of success and whatever that may be, you're not going to have those things in place to be able to sustain your success. But if longevity is important to you, then you're going to take those steps, that are equally important to teach you about the next step. So when you get to whatever that level of success is, you will know how you got there, and you will know what it takes to stay there. So sustainability. So that's the reason why I would have asked that question. How important is longevity to you?
Good one. Good one. Well, and finally, as you know, good stuff is the name of this. Just what's some good stuff you can give us in closing? Anything maybe you feel is appropriate, or just in general right now that's on your mind that you haven't shared already, or maybe just a little deeper to something you've already shared.
Yeah, I would say to your listening audience, keep striving. Striving every day to be the best person that you can possibly be. I would say keep serving the people that, like I said, you that play for you, that you are an educator to, that work with you or work for you. I would say keep soaring, because if you keep striving and you keep serving, and then most importantly, you keep sharing, then eventually you can keep soaring. So.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thank you. There you go, man. 3 for 3, knocked them all down. What about our listeners? Where can they connect with you, Kevin? Where are some places, social media, and just some other things you have going on?
Absolutely. Through social media, I'm on Twitter at Coach Sutton, and then on Living Trophies, www. Living Trophies. Excuse me, Sutton's livingtrophies.com. And then I have a website, www. Kevin Sutton Basketball .com, and a blog site, Kevin Sutton Basketball.wordpress. And then finally, they can go on YouTube and look up Kevin Sutton Living Trophies on YouTube.
Got it. Perfect. Well, hopefully everybody does that. Coach, I want to thank you for your time. I mean, this is really good, and I appreciate the servant model that you are. I mean, those players, past and present, man, they are certainly lucky to have you. I applaud you for what you have done and will continue to do, in the game of basketball, but more so in the game of the life. So keep up that good work, and thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, absolutely, Kevin. It was my pleasure. Really enjoyed this, and outstanding questions, which led to a very good conversation. So I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And hey, once again, you've heard those. We'll put those in the notes, but the websites, and hopefully you can follow Coach Sutton. He's got some good tweets and some good information. And please, as always, feel free to reach out to me at goodstuffkevin@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. I even pass these messages along to the guests, and I know they enjoy it as well. So thanks again for listening. And until next time, good stuff.